Hello all. We're going to evaluate this limit. The first step with any limit, as you probably remember from class, is to take this limiting number, this 1 in this case, and to put it in for x. And whatever happens, it'll tell us what sort of limit we're looking at. So we're going to take this 1, we put it in here, and in the numerator we're going to get 3 minus 1, which is going to be 2. And in the denominator we're going to get 2 plus 1 is going to be 3 minus the 3 is going to be 0. So we ended up with a non-zero number over a zero number. What this is doing is it's signaling a vertical asymptote. We know that this is going to either go to infinity or negative infinity, or because we're dealing with a two-sided limit, it could possibly, the limit could possibly fail to exist because one side goes to infinity and the other side goes to negative infinity. But we need to figure this out. So first things first, we need to figure out what all of these pieces do. So we need to take a look at two cases. One case as x approaches 1 from the left-hand side, and the other case over here we're going to look as x approaches 1 from the right-hand side. Alright, so from the left, as x approaches 1, and let's go ahead and separate these two, right? As x approaches 1 from the left-hand side, we know exactly what happens to 3 minus x squared. So 3 minus x squared is just going to approach 2. So great, we know what we need to know about that. We also need to know what happens to this 2x squared plus x minus 3. We need to figure out what happens here. This is a little bit less simple, but what we can do to make our lives a lot easier is we can factor this. So we need to figure out what this factors into. It's not terribly easy, but it's not too bad. In this case, this is going to factor into 2x plus 3 and x minus 1. And you can see right now that x minus 1 is the factor that made this x approaching 1 cause the denominator to be 0. So we can see that. Alright, so what is this approach? Well, the 2x minus 3, when you put 1 into this, you're going to get 2 plus 3. So this is approaching 5 in the first factor. And the second factor is going to be x minus 1. So the x minus 1 is going to approach 0. And that means we need to figure out what side of 0 we're on. So if we're approaching 1 from numbers slightly less than 1, that means we're taking a number slightly less than 1 here, and we're subtracting 1 from it. That makes our number a little bit negative. We're on the left side of 0. So if I want to find the limit of this 3 minus x squared all over 2x squared plus x minus 3, if I want to find out the limit of this from the left-hand side of 1, what we're going to do is we're going to view this as being 2 all divided by 5 times 0, and it's not 5 times 0 so much as a 5 times a number that's very close to 0 but a little bit less than it. When we do that, we can see that we're going to have a positive number on the top and a negative product on the bottom. So positive over negative is going to give us a negative number, and so this is going to negative infinity as we approach 1 from the left-hand side. We have to do the same thing from the right. So from the right, we know exactly that 3 minus x squared is going to be going to 2. We already see that. We saw that in the other side. We know that 2x squared plus x minus 3, we already factored this. This is going to be 2x plus 3 times x minus 1. And again, we know that this is headed towards 0. But now we have to figure out which side it's going to be on. So if we are a little bit larger than 1, the first number is still going to be 5. So in fact, let's erase this 0 here. We have. So the first number is going to be 5. That's not going to change. And then we're multiplying times 0 because when you put this 1 in here you'll end up getting 0, but we're a number slightly larger than 1 this time. So we have a number slightly larger than 1 minus 1. That's going to be a number slightly larger than 0. And so we're going to view this as something just a little bit bigger than 0. And that's going to let us say that the limit from the right-hand side of 3 minus x squared all over 2x squared plus x minus 3, it lets us see that that limit is basically going to be 2 all over 5 times 0, but this time some number slightly larger than 0 is going to be down there. Because that's true, we have a positive number on the top, positive product on the bottom, so it's positive over positive, and we're going to positive infinity. So since the left and right limits don't agree, since the left and right disagree, the limit doesn't exist. And that's it. So, in general, when you have a two-sided limit like this, you are going to have to check both the left and the right-hand sides, and that's necessary anytime you're dealing with a vertical asymptote. And we know we're dealing with a vertical asymptote in this case because we have a non-zero over 0. So we have to check both sides. The work is very similar from one side to another. You don't really need to show all of this work, but I'm just trying to make sure that what I'm doing is fairly clear. As always, if you have questions, let me know. I'm happy to talk about this in class or in my office. And as always, happy mathing.